Hey everybody, I've got another quick one for you. This one is about the recent Nintendo Indie World Showcase. And one of the reasons that I love the Switch is not one of the reasons that I bought the Switch. I bought the Switch for Nintendo games. I bought it for, Mario Kart, for Mario Odyssey. I bought it for Breath of the Wild. I bought it because Nintendo makes fantastic first-party titles. And for the most part, you can only play those titles on Nintendo's consoles. And I absolutely love their games. There was an added bonus, though, that the Switch turned into this awesome place to be able to get indie games. Games that aren't backed by buckets and buckets of cash. They're made by small teams and independent publishers. And often these are the games where publishers and devs take the most chances because they don't have all that much to lose. When EA makes a game, generally they put so much money into it that if it doesn't perform well, it's a big risk to them. So that's why a lot of these big companies will often play it safe. And it's why we keep seeing the same type of games over and over. So if you want to see games that are new and fresh and are taking a different look and a different approach at stuff, then indies are the place to look. And Nintendo has really done a fantastic job with indies. But in the last year, every time one of these Indie World showcases pops up, the first thing that I do is, I even did this today while I was watching the showcase after work. I open up Steam and I search for the game. And that's what I did today. And with one exception, every single game that was in today's Indie World Showcase is on Steam and will be available on the Steam Deck at some point. Even if they might end up coming to Nintendo Switch first, some of the games might come to the Switch first, but some of the games are already out, and they're not released on Switch yet, but they're already on Steam, so you can pick them up. And some of the games have demos. So I know that there's a lot of people that ignore the Indie World Showcase because they don't have a Switch. I know that there's a lot of people who will, shun away Nintendo Switch stuff because it's not Steam Deck stuff. I've never been one of those people. I've always been somebody who is, multi-console. I always wanted to be somebody who had access to all of the platforms. I don't like console wars. I've never been a fan of console wars. I don't like the tribalism that comes with it. But if you're going to give me the choice between picking up a game on the Steam Deck or picking up a game on the Nintendo Switch, I will pick it up on the Steam Deck every single time. And somebody might say, Bill, is that because the Steam Deck is more powerful? No, that's not the reason. It might help, but that's not the reason. They might say, Bill, is that because the Steam Deck has better internet capabilities? No, that's not the reason. It helps, but that's not the reason. The reason is because the Steam Deck is far, far more comfortable to use in handheld mode. I love the Nintendo Switch. It's fantastic. I almost only ever play it in docked mode. Now, I did have a sponsor a while back that had sent me a controller that snaps onto the sides of the Nintendo Switch and makes it just about the same size as a Steam Deck. And it was a really nice controller. And I used it in hands for a couple of weeks. And then I docked my Nintendo Switch. And that's pretty much, for the most part, where it stays. Because it's just not comfortable to use in handheld mode without using those controllers. And so, if I'm going to pick up any of the games from the Indie World Showcase today, I'm going to be picking them up on deck. Now, what I thought I would do is just talk about the games that jumped out to me as the most interesting. It doesn't mean that I'm going to pick these up. It's just the games that I thought looked kind of cool. So let me go ahead and bring up the video and we'll take a look at it together. First up is My Time at Sandrock. I have seen My Time at Porsche a couple of times before, or at least I've been familiar with the name of it, but I've never played it. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. It basically looks like one of those survival crafting simulation kind of games where, you have to go around and, plant farms, water your plants, harvest that stuff, build buildings and stuff like that, and just kind of customize it. And these are the perfect kind of games to just sit down and relax. All right, this next one is called, I forget what it's called. It's called Plate Up. Basically looks like it's inspired by Overcooked. Is that the name? Overcooked? I think it's called Overcooked. There's Overcooked 1 and 2. This looks really good. I think it would play really well on the Steam Deck docked. That's one advantage that the Nintendo Switch has over the Steam Deck, is just the docking mechanism is just so much better. But Valve has made huge improvements in that over time. So I do think that Plate Up looks really good, and I would definitely be willing to check that one out. The next one that jumped out at me, which I thought was really interesting, is this one right here. It's called, it starts with an R, Rift of the Necro Dancer. If you've never played Crypt of the Necro Dancer, it's a rhythm game where you are like dungeon diving at the same time. This feels more like a traditional style of rhythm game, but I really, really like the art style and the animations. I think that this looks fantastic. And, Crypt of the Necro Dancer has absolutely proved its worth over time. They've done a really, really great job, so much so that Nintendo ended up hiring them to make a Crypt of the Necro Dancer Hyrule Edition. Now, it does have this weird mechanic in the middle of it where you're like doing yoga. That doesn't really appeal to me, but this part right here with the skeletons coming down on a guitar strings thing, that looks really, really good. And it looks like the perfect kind of game to sit down and play on your Steam Deck. The next one that is jumping out to me is obviously some DLC for Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, which I never picked up. It's been on my radar, and it looks really, really good. But this is DLC for Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. I think I need to see if I can try that game out because I love Shovel Knight. I love Shovel Knight Dig. I think that they're both fantastic games, and this looks great. And speaking of DLC, we have DLC for Cult of the Lamb, although this DLC is free. Basically, they allow you to remix dungeons and fight the bosses that you fought before, but you get to fight them a different way. There's a bunch of new items that you can unlock and new things that you can unlock for your cult, which is awesome. My son loves Cult of the Lamb, so I'm going to have to tell him about this later. I think it looks awesome. Now, people are going to think I'm weird. I don't know who Donkey is. I know that they're like a YouTuber who started making video games or something, and people got all mad about them doing that. Kind of weird that people were upset about it, but sure, whatever. But the game that they're publishing is Animal Well. I didn't know anything about this, but the graphics alone look really, really good to me. I love the fake scanline stuff. And I really like the almost bright neon colors. I mean, let me rewind that real quick right here. The way that the light interacts with the environment. Like, you look at this game and it looks like a very simple retro kind of game that would exist at any point. But if you look at the light right here, right there, that's so cool looking. I'm very curious what this game is like, and I really like the art style. So this is a game that I'm interested in. Now, one that I found really odd is Crime O'Clock. I'm not sure what kind of game this is. To me, this looks like one of those games where you have a giant picture and you have to search through that picture for things, which sounds terrible, but I don't know what it was called. I had one on my iPad a while back, and I was addicted to it. This reminds me of that. You travel through time, solving crimes, and as you solve the different crimes, you can go to different times of the same location, and it will impact the map and how you can interact with the different timelines, which is really cool. This one comes out in this summer. I thought that looked really good. Now, this one, real quick, I'll just do two more. If you've never played West of Loathing, it's this really cool stick figure RPG. Think Paper Mario with a really great sense of humor, and everything is in black and white, and it's like drawn on paper. It looks awesome. It plays exactly how you think it should play, and the humor is really, really great. This actually looks really cool, and maybe it will hold my attention. It's called Shadows Over Loathing. I love this developer. I think they do really good work, so I'm interested in that one. And then the last one, actually, okay, we got two more. This is the only one that is not currently on Steam. Now, the original Blasphemous is on Steam, so I fully expect that Blasphemous 2 will also come to Steam, but when I did a search in Steam for Blasphemous 2, it wasn't there. I don't know if it'll show up soon because, they had the Indie World Showcase and, they want to capitalize on search results. Or maybe Nintendo said, hey, give us some temporary exclusivity before you do that kind of thing. Who knows? This game looks really cool. I never played the first one, but it's definitely been something that's been on my radar. It's a Metroidvania game, and I absolutely adore the art style. It comes out this summer. This is the only one on the list that didn't show up when I searched for it on Steam. And then they had a bunch of other games that showed up. None of these really jumped out at me. But here's my question to all of you. Of the games that were in the Indie Direct, whether you're going to play them on Nintendo Switch or you're going to play them on your Steam Deck, I'm curious what jumped out at you, what games looked really cool. Like I said at the beginning, every game, with the exception of Blasphemous 2, every single game that they showed off on this is probably going to play absolutely fantastic on the Steam Deck, and they're all already listed on Steam. So I think that a lot of people skip out on the Indie World Showcases because they don't have a Switch, and I think that you guys are missing out on a good way to show off some cool games that you might otherwise miss out on. The last thing that I'll say before I get out of here is Valve does a very, very similar thing, and they do it a whole bunch of times per year. It's called Steam Next Fest, and a couple of times a year, they will have a bunch of demos available on Steam that are highlighting indie devs and showing off other games. So if you liked what you saw in the Indie World Showcase, then I think that you'll also like the Steam Next Fest. I don't know when the next one is. If there's another one coming up soon, I'll put it like right there on the screen, so like the date when it's coming. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of the Indie World Showcase. Did anything jump out at you? Are you going to be playing them on the Steam Deck, or are you going to be playing them on your Nintendo Switch? Let me know in the comment section down below. And from the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Before you get out of here, make sure you check out this video right here. If you like this one, you're probably going to like the next one too. All right. Stay rad, everybody. Take it easy.